So good morning, delegates, and welcome to the third Field Service Management Summit. Myself, name is Rajya Guru, working with the Symphony Limited as a national service head. Symphony is a pioneer and leaders in the cooling solution and enjoying more than 50% market share in cooler industry. We have manufacturing plant in USA, Mexico, Australia, and China, and presence in more than 35 countries across the globe. I have 28 years of experience in BPS and consumer durable industry, and my area of expertise are field service management, revenue and retention, sales and planning, cost management, and resources optimization. Our today's topic on the discussion is transferring your service and support operation from a cost center to a value and revenue generator. And let me welcome our panelists for the today's topic and introduce you one by one. We have with us Mr. Ashish Sharma. He is Executive Vice President, Customer Service at Vodafone India Limited. Ashish is a proficient operation customer experience professional with more than 22 years of experience. He has experience in strategies and business processes and customer touchpoint. He has ability to collaborate successfully in complex environment with multiple stakeholders and changing the business needs. We also have Anuj Jail. He is a head of field service at NCR Corporation India Private Limited. Anuj comes with a 15 years of experience in logistics, supply chain, and field operation. Anuj heads India Field Service at NCR Corporation, managing more than 400 crore business with more than 1,000 field employees. He is an electronic engineer from Mumbai University and MBA from IIM Calcutta. We also have a very known person in service industry, Mr. Daryl Check. He is the executive head of delivery at IBM Service Asia Pacific. Daryl is currently employed with IBM Global Technology Service as a service delivery director for Asia Pacific, based at Singapore. He is originated from the Australia, and Daryl has been working in Asia for nearly 30 years. Since last 15 years, he is based at China and Singapore, and is responsible for more than 2,500 field-related resources and manpower. So let me open the today's topic, and the panel discussion for today is transforming your service and support operation from a cost center to value and revenue generator. Let me first invite Daryl to open up the discussion. Daryl, how can we find a creative ways to use the data of the customer collected and generate a strategic business for the company, and how a service business can generate and add revenue and value for the company? Daryl?
Yes, thank you, Namish. I think collecting data around customer behavior, whether that's a buying behavior, whether that's a service behavior, it's not new. I think a lot of platforms do it today, even from the local coffee shop all the way up to big multinational companies are collecting data to give customers pretty much differentiated value. The reason this data is used is to differentiate the value, drive value from what the services we provide to our clients, right? So this is part of the journey from being just purely cost, just trying to do things at a cost layer, to more of a personalized experience for the client in different ways. So data will help that. Data helps that in a buying capacity. I think everyone's experienced that when you've gone through a coffee shop and you've bought your favorite coffee. Then obviously future purchases on that the coffee shop tries to obviously then tailor discounts, tailor other activities around those things. Same in the services industry, right? We know customers usage behavior. We know things where the customer has certain behavior patterns about usage, their demand. We know retail demands around Christmas. I know, Anil, you're in the ATM business, etc. We know that ATM demands are a peak during festive season, etc. That information is powerful in a service organization because we can tailor services, we can tailor support around that, right? Because there are peaks and troughs around customers' behavior, not just from a buying point of view, but also a usage point of view. So data collected in that area allows us to be, as a support organization, much more prepared in supporting our clients, but also driving differentiated value to them, right? Trying to differentiate ourselves from our competitors, the people next door. Right? And then again, a lot of that allows us to charge for additional cost, and customers are willing to buy it. If they see value, then that comes with a price in a lot of areas, right? And so customers see value in that. Some things don't need to be charged. Some things can be done cost effective, because that way we can use it in the service industry. So there's a bit of balance on getting that mix right. And that increases the profit, the ability from there, and basically adds the value from the client. Because I think if we could continue to compete at the lowest price, no one really wins from that organization point of view. So our goal here is, I think, to use some of this data to drive differentiated value to our clients, and show that we are different, and can use that to be more of a personalized experience in the way that they run their business and the way that we support them in supporting their business.
Thank you, Daryl. Thanks a lot for your inputs. Ashish, I need your opinion on how we can upskill a field service worker to bring best value to the customer and generate a revenue for the company.
Thanks, Naimesh. I will just reflect back on some of the challenges with the pandemic which came last year. This was early April, in fact, 23rd of March, 2020. We have a base of 270 million customers, and the postpaid customers are close to about 80 odd million. Now, since our stores were closed, our call center operation took time to start work from home. We had to service our customers. So the immediate field level last mile we have is our collection agencies. Now, these agencies are largely involved only in getting bad debts cleared and collection recoveries cleared, but we had to reorient them quickly to be able to service. So as to, if a customer is requiring a SIM to be changed, or an IR plan to be in international roaming to be initiated, or any other servicing requirements. So we had to deploy a Red app, which was largely for our retail stores that we were doing, and we had to equip them. We had close to about 4,500 collection in foot on street, which we trained in a matter of a week on how do you service customers. Now, this was an arrangement which was to cater to the requirement of the pandemic, because people were using data, they needed good speed, so network servicing became of prime importance. So both the collection agencies and the network engineers, these were two set of field footprint we had, that we had to quickly train them on how servicing can be led. And we used the Red app, which is our proprietary app on servicing, and we deployed that on the tool which is for collection as well as for the network servicing. Thereby, we could reach out to customers who were calling us, but they were not able to visit any of our showrooms or stores because they were all shut. So the entire pandemic period last year, that's how we kind of initiated this, and we were able to kind of retain, and our TNPS and net promoter scores around that time were really very good. This got repeated this year as well, but we embellished it further with more value adds. So there was a reason for the field team to feel engaged, because they would get appreciation instantly, because the customer would give us on our app, give us a rating, and that also helped us, to get better engagement scores from customers. So it was a very symbiotic, winning of two things, servicing as well as giving praise to the front line, because quite often the front line doesn't get any praise, or they don't get recognized for the work that they do. But this was something which really worked out well last year, and that's how we made the most of upskilling our front line. So we have close to 4,000 odd collection agents. We have all India, as well as about 20,000 odd network engineers. So that was a very strong force that we had. Yeah, Nimish.
Thanks, Ashish. Anuj, how can we ensure that customer in the field shall be provided with the best value services and they will be delighted?
Yeah, thanks, Nimish. So it essentially is a couple of things, right? And you cannot just deliver value to the customer only through your sales channel, right? Your regular touch point to the customer is your service channel. And it really takes fundamentally a change in mindset to begin with the service professionals. So we need to be extremely customer centric. So in NCR, we have a motto that we treat every customer as if they are our only customers, right? And this gets really repeated time and again and pushed through to the last line, right? And what that ensures is when our field service engineers actually are going to repair a machine, they have customer centricity in their mind. So they are not only repairing that machine or addressing the issue to meet their internal metrics, but also to make sure the machine gets working at the earliest so the customer is happy, right? So that's the first fundamental thing that I think organizations need to drive is a customer-centric mindset in order to extract best value. And then to add to what Daryl mentioned earlier, data becomes very important, right? To make any value decisions for the customer, the data that the service team generates on a day in and day out basis can then be used and fed into back-end analytical systems to understand customer behavior patterns, patterns of transactions. So like Daryl mentioned earlier, right, we see a peak just before the festive season. We need to make sure that we are equipped to handle that peak in terms of service request. And how do we make sure the back-end infrastructure support is provided in terms of parts? Ashish mentioned about the pandemic. The biggest challenge in the pandemic for us was to make sure the back-end parts or spares support is managed. We were an essential service. We had to make sure ATMs are running, and more so than ever, because banks were not there available, branches were not available for 24 hours anymore, or even 8 hours a day, right? So people needed ATMs to take out cash. That becomes very important. So we need to make sure that service data feeds into the analytical systems to allow us to take correct decisions. And then these decisions can flow all the way up to the way you structure contract with your clients. So as an example, what we do is we have a lot of B2B contracts, right? And these are contracts with the banks. And a plain vanilla contract would be any issue due to a site condition, let's say AC not working, water leaking, because of which an ATM failed, it's bank's issue, right? It's not a device issue per se. And then there is a whole lot of transactional, to and fro that happens during the issue. It takes a lot of time. And what that means is the machine is not available for the customer for all that duration, right? So we actually got all this data back and we went back to the bank and we said, hey, you know what? We will cover you for it. Okay. Here's how much you are anyway spending on it today in this whole transactional day-to-day kind of a working. Let's just put a small premium over our existing AMC values and we will cover it and save you all the headache, allows us to plan better and gives better ATM availability to the customer. So it's a win-win. And that's how the customer-centric approach as well as data visibility can then help you provide the best value and service to the customer, even in a B2B environment.
Thanks, Anuj. Thanks for sharing a very case example of ATM machines. Now I invite Daryl. Daryl, can we develop a really business case for a service generator or a revenue generation cases? Can you share any case for that?
Yeah, let me talk a bit about it. I'm sure my panelists here have all been faced with putting a business case. I think the audience too have experience about putting a business case in front of our executives, right? And so it's a tough ask. There's no magic number. If we had a magic one on that, we'd be getting a lot of things done. But there's a couple of core elements to a good business case. Firstly, I think as we've been talking about here, is putting the client first, right? Being client centric, right? That has to be about the client aspect of it. Then the other element is around transforming, right? Obviously, we don't, customers want to transform, do things differently. So if we can show as part of the business case that there's elements of those things that play in, that's important as well. We're not doing things of the old. I think every company who is number of years old have transformed in other ways. From an IBM point of view, over 100 years, right? Every company has to transform. So I think the business case has to part of that. It also has to be aligned to the company's core values, right? So obviously, leveraging the power of what you want to go do. Like Anil talked about ATMs, and obviously if the business case was something outside of ATMs, it's a lot harder to go do, right? So the core values of the company is important, right? And lastly, and I'm not saying it's last, but obviously the financials have to make sense. It has to sort of grow, right? Those sort of things. So let me touch a couple of those. So I see those 4 elements as critical to any business case. Client-centric, again, we're doing this to mostly, for the client. It could be an internal project that makes us operationalize and be better for a client, or it could be an external type thing, right? But at the end of the day, everything that we do has to put the client first. We have to think about the benefits of the client. How can we differentiate for the things? It's similar to what we talked about before, right? Transformation, every company, whether it's digital, AI, technology, those things, we have to transform, right? And so transformation, part of the business case should be showing how you're leveraging this to transform, because it will help you be efficient in the cost, help you be kind of smarter in delivery, right? So part of it is cost savings, but also it's smarter in the way we're doing it. So that transformation aspect is very, very powerful as well, right? Company values is important, and obviously the financials have to make sense, right? And the financials has to grow. It can't just be a one-time thing, because things change. So I think from a business case point of view, those aspects were things. So in summary, getting a business case through is often difficult for all of us. It's a challenge, but I think if you look at those 4 key elements and you show strength in those 4 key elements, I think then you have obviously a good grounding to at least present it in front of executives and take it forth, right? So again, I wish I had a magic wand for all the business cases. I think we all would, to get things approved, get our IT budgets approved, all that sort of stuff. But in the day, part of our job is to go sell what we're going to go do, right? We're salesmen from a delivery point of view, maybe not selling a product, but we're selling what we do, what we're doing for our clients. And that's a key aspect of what this is about. And I think these are the key elements of that business case. Namesh, back to you.
Can I just add, Darren, what we work in our organization with our CFO, the agreement is that any spend in terms of enhancement, it either generates higher revenue, reduces the cost, or enhances experience. Now, all 3 get valued at the same. So for us, when we prepare the techno-commercial proposal, that helps us, weed away some of these requirements of cost benefit.
Right.
Thanks. Nimish.
Thanks, Ashish, do you have any related case which Anuj has mentioned for the ATM units services? So do you have any case study in the telecom industry which is a proven case and can generate a revenue for the company by utilizing the field service manpower?
So we are largely a telco. So for us, our towers is where we generate the maximum revenue. So our signals, our towers, our radio transmissions. Now these are very complex set of engineering equipments, right? And what actually happened during the pandemic was we were having this excessive load on our network, because virtually everybody was working from home. So our the entire spectrum was getting overutilized. Because of which experience was dipping. So I'm sure, when you have one tower mapped to some 100 customers, and now suddenly if there are 100 customers who are now generating almost like 3 GB data every day, so it's overutilizing. So we had to find ways of augmenting capability. Now there's only that much spectrum. So we then we not only did an optimization of our backhaul, because that's the one which powers the signals, and improve the radio. But we also got into, between the telcos, we got into an agreement that, if there is some spectrum sharing we can do, because we didn't want at that point in time our customers to see a dip in the experience. So there are arrangements which are organic, there are inorganic arrangements, but net, the business benefit has to be with value which you create for the customer. Again, experience takes, precedent in this case, and that's what Darren, I think, mentioned. And in case of what Anuj had mentioned about the ATMs, we had a similar issue. So when there are excessive rains or flooding, or it's a very windy condition, the radio, the transmission, they all kind of get disoriented. Sometimes they get damaged, and for that we need to be very quick, because at that point in time the customer doesn't really realize there's an issue with the weather conditions, because of which the signals are not good, and we still have to manage the experience. So these are challenges, but as we know that in India we have to manage experience better, and hence augmenting these capacities at the front line is of prime. So giving them the right set of tools, information. Earlier radio transmission and managing these stars used to be quite a challenge. Now we've got these devices. I don't know how to explain that, but these work on a massive MIMO kind of technology, where you don't need to go and kind of see the entire radio antenna signal, but then you get a good brief as to where exactly the radiation is missing. So these are things, you're able to get your towers back into shape and form much faster than what we were, a few years back.
Yes, Ashish, is very beautiful case of telecom industry. Anuj, would you like to add anything on any case study where you were able to generate a revenue and a value to the customer or organization?
Sure, Nimish. So actually, I had the opportunity. I always like to think of this as an opportunity, right? In the financial sector, there have been two major events in the last 5 years. One is demonetization, and other is the pandemic, right? So we have already spoken about the pandemic. So let me give some background on demonetization. Right? Again, a black swan event. Suddenly 85% of the currency invalidated in the country, right? ATMs again at the forefront, because no one had cash. Banks did not have cash. RBI did not have cash, and there were long queues in front of ATMs. That I think was a common theme across the board, right? And a lot of stress in the system, not only to get the old currency, the invalidated currency back to the RBI, but also to push the new currency as and when it is made available, to make sure that people are served. So what we did, right? We went beyond normal servicing. We actually generated an application, okay, called ATM Finder, okay, because we were the first people who knew where cash was being replenished in the machine, right? So why not use it to generate value, right? Why not use that simple data and that simple information? And mind you, the systems were not very supportive from an internal systems perspective, because the systems were never designed to give real-time feed into an application which can be used by a direct consumer of the bank, right? So we scrambled together. It took us about a month to work internally with the IT division. This was not your typical kind of business cases where you could just show a revenue number and a revenue increase, right? This fell more into the customer satisfaction lane, right? And this was need of an hour, right? We were seeing people suffering there, and we had to do something about it. So we actually developed an app called ATM Finder, which used to give real-time updates. And as NCR, we manage, so out of the 2.5 lakh ATMs in the country, 1 lakh machines are NCR machines. So if we are able to provide information, it covers almost 40% of all the ATMs in the country. So that's what we did. It was hugely successful. It helped a lot of people. It generated a lot of positive press. We also worked with our CIT partners, the people who generate, who replenish cash in the machine, to help with this information. And that really generated a lot of positive sentiments and really helped a lot of people. So that was an opportunity that we made use of in terms of driving value for our customers and consumers.
And Jude, that example covers all the topics we covered today, right? You use data. It was your own data, maybe not client data, but your own data to add client value, right? And you get clients. Some of that may have turned into revenue. Some of that's just client experience where they come back and use your ATMs again, right? So because going to an ATM that has no money or doesn't work or whatever doesn't give a good experience, right? There's a brand image there. So you've used your own, your own data to then get clients that information and show value to get it to an ATM, one of your own ATMs that has money, right? So I guess that example, pulls together all the questions that Nimish has raised today. I think it's a good rounding question.
Yeah.
Thanks, Daryl. Thanks, Anuj and Ashish. Now we have a question and answer from the delegates. So we invite delegates to, if they can raise any inputs or feedback or any question related to topic to us. And we at the panelists will get back to them on the live session. We now invite delegates. Thank you. So Ashish, would you like to reply for the first question?
Okay, so let me just read the question so I understand. How to avoid compromising quality of service delivered while also focusing on revenue generation? And I'll kind of go back to what Daryl had mentioned. Your experience in terms of the outcome is basically of what is the effort the customer has to make to get a service. And largely, if you're able to lower the effort of the customer, you will see the experience enhance. Now, if you're looking at revenue generation as an aspect, again, there's data which has to say that where are these pockets of revenue generation. For us, we make money if customer uses more and more data, right? And hence we have to make sure that the data speed, the experience is top class, so that the customer doesn't need to think or switching on to a Wi-Fi and the more they use our network, the more we're able to generate revenue. So if you want to improve your revenue, you will have to have a very fine quality parameters for yourself, and you will have to see ways of how you can reduce the effort of the customer. There has to be a seamlessness, kind of assured from a quality model. You move to an assurance model, which more or less binds the customers to say that, listen, I'm fully covered. I don't need to worry about, I've got enough network strength. I can manage, my meetings. I can manage, wherever I need to get on a VC. So that to me, so it's actually quality only gets you more higher revenue. So if you don't focus on quality of your parameters, it's a downward trend. Your revenues will taper out soon.
So Anuj is
I
smiling.
was going to, I think I was going to agree with that. Yeah, I think there's a line, as you see quality continue around service delivery, then revenue will continue with that, right? Even client loyalty, repeat business, you'll have those things. So it's very important. And I can definitely tell that if your quality goes down, the customers aren't going to buy from you. They're going to go somewhere. Think about, I think for my audience point of view, think about your favorite restaurant, your favorite things. You're going there because of the quality, whether it be the quality of service or quality of food, right? If those things are not there, you're not going to go back there, right? So I think what Ashish said is absolutely important. There is a direct line of quality and service, right? And as you deliver more poor service, obviously from a cost point of view, it actually costs you more. So we may be generating lots of revenue, but our profits will be down, right? So I think there's a direct correlation between the two.
Right. Just one point. I completely agree with the fellow panelists here, but just would like to put an aspect of time on this. Typically, trying to cut corners to generate revenue is a very short-term strategy, and it really does not make any sense in the medium to long term. So I think if there are any thoughts around compromising on quality to focus on revenue generation, I think you just need to look at a higher time frame, and you will always, as Daryl pointed out, you'll always get a very close correlation in the medium to long term between quality and revenue, right? And I think that is very important increase the time frame of reference, and you will always get an answer that better quality means better revenue.
Erin, you have a question
Yeah,
from
so
the
sure.
Sohit Singh. Yeah.
Yeah, I was going to read that. So obviously, data is everything. So it's a very good. So I think very good question. Data is everything. We talk about security, privacy, and obviously, clients being irritated, right? So we know that once you've got all this data, if you go too far, it crosses that line into my spam, right? Getting annoyed, sort of thing. So it's a fine balance. So let me start with the security and privacy. I think in the last 10, 15 years, I think the aspects of that has increased. The requirements around that has increased. As we get more digital, those things will also increase, right? So I think every company is putting this stuff at the forefront of data security, everything. So we've got to look at how we collect it, what we're collecting, right? So some things are collected as just machine type information, which is less secure, personal information. So I think by segmenting those different aspects of data will help you use it. A lot of machine data is less personalized, right? So we can do more with it. Personal data is obviously more personalized, and we have to be more careful how we use that and pass it on, right? And moving through. So those things, privacy and security will apply for me at different layers of those things. But overall, it's important. It's still customer data, whichever way you look at it. And I think every customer, every company, is looking at how to protect that thing point of view, not only their own data, but the data they collect, right? And obviously with the standards coming through Europe, they're obviously driving us to another layer, right? With all the GDPR type activities. So those things are important. Now, second part of the question is, irritating calls, SMS, etc. The best way to do that is to give customers choice, right? So some customers don't want calls, right? We see in our market that customer says, well, please don't call me, send me an SMS or email. So part of this, getting this right, is allowing customers to choose how they interact with us, right? So, one instance they may call us and that's how we want to interact with it. Later, they may send us an email and want to interact it from there, right? So instead of us making our own decisions and just spamming it out, turn that into asking clients for their preferences. I think many of us see our banks. You can go into your profile and you say, my preference is this, preference is that. I think that's a way that you can control that, right? And so you let clients maintain that, you let clients set that up. That allows you to control that. Therefore, that's the client's choice, right? And obviously, we need to keep current with that type of activity. Yes, we all, I think earlier in one of the sessions earlier, we talked about WhatsApp. WhatsApp's around just like sunlight. I agree, right? But we all get lots of messages through WhatsApp, a lot of spam, right? Very hard to find out what's fake, what not fake, right? So we've got to be careful with that as well. Giving out your personal information is very important, but personalizing how you want to interact with your favorite company, regardless of whatever it is, NCR, IBM, Vodafone, is important to getting that piece right and making sure we don't irritate clients, right, is very important.
Thanks, Larry. Ashish, I think you can add more value onto the question because you are from the telecom background and you must have faced the music from the customer that don't disturb us. So how do you manage this?
Yeah, so do not disturb is very, very critical. It's high priority because it's extremely invasive and irritating for the customer as well. So as telcos, we have to protect our customers' privacy, and whenever we have any digital marketing campaign or digital marketing engagement, we ensure that we go through a non-invasive way of, when a customer comes on our app or when he's chatting on WhatsApp, that's when we promote some of the campaigns. There is very limited we are directly pushing to customers as upgrades or campaigns. We extremely sensitive, and as Darren said, customer information is of prime importance. It's a PII information. So even between our systems, when we're changing customer details, it's through an encrypted mode, and it's important because a lot of our system is also at the network level and so on and so forth. And all the apps which you have on your mobile, they carry information. They carry your lat long, which is called the geotags. They carry what you're surfing, where you're going, if you have your location on. Now a lot of this if anything goes from our network, has to be encrypted. So there's a lot of time we spend. We don't do any integration till the time our IT security is 100% sure, and we use a fairly extensive encryption code, and we also suggest our partners to use the same. Before that, we don't sign up anything.
Anuj, would you like to answer the question that any training related suggestion for the field executives to increase the service delivery?
Sure, Namish. So any training related suggestions for field executives which can increase or improve service delivery? So training is tricky business, right? Sometimes organizations think that training means induction and that's about it, which is a fallacy. Training is continuous. It has to be continuous. You need to look at skilling and reskilling an employee at regular intervals of time to make sure you get the right quality of service from them. And the other way to look at training is that training has to be a mix of classroom or theory and practical. You cannot, I cannot stress the importance of practical training or on the field training, because that's when you really understand how you need to respond to an issue and also how to report it correctly. Most of the times what happens with training is trainings only focus on the technical aspects of the equipment. So that's one of the things that I found out or we realized in NCR, that training was, this is how the cache comes out. These are the nuts and screws and bolts to be tightened, right? These are the modules to be changed. Or let's say in IBM context, these are the servers to be pulled out and put back in, right? That is only part of it. What is also important is how you communicate what you have done, how you interact with the customer, that the issue is resolved or not, and make sure that whenever you are closing a service request, it is to customer satisfaction. And that is something that cannot be trained in the classroom. You have to make sure that you train it on the field, and then you get the relevant feedback back from the training at regular intervals to understand that the training has actually been successful.
Yeah, I think the best training is to listen to our customers and our people. I think from an executive point of view, the more face time you get with clients and more face time you get with people, you'll learn from that. You'll be able to change it, right? So, don't always think about training as something you've got to read in a book or on a website, but sometimes listening is probably one of the best training things our executives can do.
So Ashish, you have a very, very long question, and we accommodate this as a last question.
Yeah.
So would you like to address and like to respond?
Sure. So the question really is how to collaborate vendors with OEM requirements. Options are more to improve quality and for business generation in market, but we also need to see stability factors, continuous improvement factors. So I think that's one part of it. How do you kind of engage with your partners when you get equipments from OEMs and and in heavy engineering kind of equipment industry, you need to make sure that the output is of the quality that one gets. At the same point in time, it's being done by partners who are third party. So the way we do this is the equipments or the installation, the material is all supplied by us. The installation piece is kind of outsourced. But before any partner can let anyone come into our sites or touch the sites, there is a certification that is given by the partner. First and foremost is for safety, that they have gone through the entire safety procedures. They have all the insurance cover. They've got the training. They have covered, detailed training. So there's a certification of training which is given. Only then can someone come and touch our sites, and especially when they're doing a upgradation or they're doing a change of machinery or a new site installation. These are prerequisites, and we do not budge an inch when it comes to safety and security, because that's the most important, because these are very high energy consuming sites, and any accident can be extremely lethal. So that's of prime. Second is once the installation or the upgrade or the rectification is done, the certification is done by our team. So it's not that they can kind of do something and get away with it. There is a certification done by the network team, and these are fairly large, extensive surveys which are done. So that way we make sure that first when we select a site or we do an upgrade, it's largely on account of what is the revenue we're going to generate from that site, because it's a cost. It's a huge cost, a capex and opex cost of running a site, because there's a generator system that has to be working 24/7 because the site can't go down. So there has to be this fine blend. You can't compromise on quality, safety, and assurance, and at the same point in time, you have to quickly see that site becomes profitable, or whatever spends that we're doing, we're able to realize that in a quick time. The second question is, it should not be one-time result, and then we are struggling to cope up with the requirements which are leading to customer dissatisfaction and zigzag types. Yeah, so that's largely how we cater to the requirement of the customer. So you first see the revenue generation opportunity, then you see as to how best can you find a requisite site. Then of course this is entire battery of how we select the partner. The OEMs are directly interacting with us, and this is how we orchestrate it so that we get the best quality while we're doing any kind of installation or an upgrade. So I hope, Sohit, that kind of answers.
So Darshan is one of the delegates who has raised one very bad revenue generation also comes from reducing cost. Do you see cross-sector integration going forward to reduce field service management? So Daryl would like to answer this question.
Yeah, I'm just trying to understand. So revenue generation also comes with reducing costs. Absolutely. I think if you put those two together, it means profit, right? So obviously, the more we generate with lower costs, the obviously that improves your profits, right? So that there is a segment there. We don't want to increase our revenues without improvements in the way we do things, and often. When you repeat things, if you do things one-off, if your business is always one-off, then obviously the cost associated with those one-off. But if you can get to a point where you repeat things and do things, then obviously your costs will go down, right? So going forward from a management point of view of field, that's what we look at. We look at ways that we can repeat our activities, where we can get synergies across things, and how we can drive those things, as Ashish says and as Neil said in a lot of those areas, right? So yes, I think there's an intersect between those. I think we always have to be mindful of revenue going up. I think we all would prefer to work in an environment when revenue does grow, because it's growth. Whenever revenue does go down, let's think about the opposite to the question. If revenue does go down, often trying to take the cost out is a lot harder, right? So therefore, from a field management point of view, there become some challenges, right? So I think in an area where you are growing, and lots of places are growing around the world, you can do that by reducing your cost as well, or optimizing your cost. It doesn't have to be reducing. And I think field services plays a critical aspect of that, right? What we do with our people. Field services is a lot about parts and people and infrastructure. What we do, right? That's typically very costly. So if we can maximize those and improve on those, that obviously helps us from the bottom line.
So thanks, Daryl. Thanks.
Can I just add to what Daryl is saying? When you view cost, you have to see cost as, is it revenue generating, or is it not so much revenue generating? And that's where you focus. Now, whatever is revenue generating, you need to prime it up and make sure that it gets you the best outcome, the maximum buck for your money. The other elements of cost need to be decomposed to see which are the elements which can, where you can loosen up, but without compromising on quality or the experience. And that's where companies should, microscopically focus on. That's the way I see.
Thank you, Ashish. Anuj, want to add something?
Really, only again give a different flavor to this in terms of actual keeping the field engineer in the center, right? The way I read this is, can we do cross-sector integration So it means cross-selling. So for example, can an electrician be a Mercedes-Benz mechanic also, right? In his free time, right? Okay, anything is possible, but there are costs to cross-skilling, right? And the way we look at it is there is an inflection point kind of beyond which you cannot cross-skill. It actually costs you more to cross-skill the person, right? Than the value that that person derives or provides you as an organization or as a consumer. So there are adjacencies that definitely you try and push the envelope as much as possible, push the boundary as much as possible. But yes, there are clearly it cannot be an all pervasive kind of a thing. You have to look at adjacencies which really make sense and then cross skill people accordingly.
Ashish, one more question for you again.
Okay, see, in our organization, since pandemic, we've moved out of classroom trainings. We have moved to gamification, which is your modules are now they're agnostic to the device. So whether you do it on a laptop or a handheld mobile, or you want to put it on a projector, but training, is not really classroom anymore. And what we see is if there is too much stress, because we currently also operate 50% work from home, or not just our staff, but even our partners. We do that. Now, the question, which is the first part of it, is that how do you ensure customer delight at the first point? I think you need to have a minimum standard of assurance which you can give to your customer, right? And it's not like you having an ice cream where, the first bite or the first taste of it is going to give you a customer delight. It's an experience which comes over a period of time. However, there has to be an assurance which has to be given that below this, we will not come low, right? And that has to be like absolute brilliant basics, right? Don't and build beyond that. And experience is something that gradually gets built. But once it reaches a level, don't let it dip. So it's not the first time. Of course, it's a very different experience when you're buying a Mercedes or having an ice cream, right? Even with, there may be things which you like, which you may not like, but then gradually, period of time, as more and more services you experience, that's how you build it. But don't let it drop from where you reach, because that's most important. You may try to do something new, but if you drop something which is essential or a brilliant basics, if that drops, there's no way you can kind of get the customer back.
I was going to say that when we talk about field training, typically we talk about the technical aspect, right? Fixing whatever's broken, right? But when you talk about customer delight, it's actually the events happening up to that point and events after that point, right? And so when we talk about training our field teams, we also need to train them on the soft skills, right? And I think, if you really think about where your own service experience was, outstanding, it's probably not that the box got fixed in 5 minutes or 10 minutes or 1 hour. It's the events leading up to that and the after service things, making sure that the customers are happy. I think Nimish, you mentioned later before, but have this customer happy with the service? Everything was okay. It's to really delight customers. It's the experience before and after the physical aspect, right? So I think as part of any training, don't just always focus on the physical thing, but focus on the events up to and after that physical event.
Thanks, Daryl. Thanks, Anuj, and thanks, Ashish. We are now we have very less time for the discussion, and we're closing the session. Thank you very much for today's participation, and we have a different area of expertise here from the IT, from the telco, from the ATM. So thanks a lot. Thank you very much, all of you.
Thank you, Nimish.
Thank you, Nimish.
Thank you, team. Thank you, panelists.
Thanks,
Bye-bye.
Anuj, Daryl.